group of OP coaches talking about what they would love to see. If you could change anything in the people you coach, what would you change? That's an interesting question.
What were some of the responses?
Well, a lot of it has to do, that there's a proverb with the cheetah and the gazelle. I don't know if you've heard it, the Dave Ramsey proverb. So the cheetah clearly has the advantage. It's way more powerful than the gazelle, but the gazelle gets away like 95% of the time. But the gazelle fights for its life, right? The cheetah just goes for the next one. And so having everyone fight like a gazelle.
Sure. Hey, Steve.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
No worries.
Were you talking?
Yeah, I was saying hi back to Taylor. Right? I said I just keep chopping away at this list.
Well, do you? I feel bad. Do you want me to give you a half hour back of your day?
Hey, you guys got me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to share with just you two.
Steve, how about you?
The topic today?
Well, I was in a conversation with Gary Keller last week, and really talking about survive to thrive, and Gary Keller's thoughts and ideas around that, and just wanted to share.
So you coach top agents?
I coach leadership.
Okay.
Karen's my coach.
What do you see around the country? I feel like we're pretty blessed here in terms of the number of closings that are still taking place, and the market I don't think has been hit nearly as severe here as probably some parts of the country.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Gary Keller's assessment was like every market was going to be different, right?
Sure.
And really what we're looking at, he said the rubber's going to hit the road in May and June. Like we're really not going to know. And we really don't know how to fight our way back to the top till we know where the bottom is.
Sure. And
so the overall strategy is to push forward as if we're going to all struggle, because at the other end, right, we'll only be better off for it. So I'm an OP at a couple of market centers. One's hit harder than the other. One's actually doing better this year than it did last year. But I think it's because of the focus that we're putting on it.
Sure.
And so always the very first step is we have to talk about survival, right? And surviving means health-wise, business-wise, right, relationship-wise. And really his main point on all this was recasting the vision of where you want to be. Where do you want your life and business to be on the other side of this?
Sure.
And when he says recast the vision, he means a short term and a long term, because it's very difficult now to see what the long term is going to be. Like ultimately, we know where we want to go, but maybe our traditional year end goal got a little wonky. So create a shorter vision on that and push for that. So for him, for survival was health, finances, and your people.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So health-wise, a lot of people are really beaten down right now, right? There's a lot of mental fatigue. And I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I certainly have. Are you working from home, or you guys can work in the office?
Uh, I'm mostly working from home the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I think Taylor's kind of been off and on from home at the office. I see Carrie's joined us. She's probably mostly been working from home.
Yeah, so what happens is when you've changed your environment and you're creating new habits, your brain's working overtime, right? And so we get that mental fatigue. There's so many new things hitting us, and we have to get new habits and new routines. And on the call with Gary, he was very specific about his routine. I mean, he went into great detail on what he did. And I'm thinking, why is he telling me his dog's at his feet while he's shaving, you know? And he would stop and he says, I'm explaining to you guys so you understand how important having a routine right now for your mental well-being and your health. He really pushed, you know, making sure we get out and exercise at least 20 minutes a day. I mean, how do I survive? So getting that daily routine in. So if we could figure out where you want to be at the other end of this, business-wise, now we can back in and put in a plan, and what that new vision is. Expenses, you've probably heard people talking about cutting your expenses.
Yep.
Right? Keeping that. In fact, I was on a call with someone earlier today. Typically, their credit card bill was $10,000 a month, and they have it all pared down. And so now this month was $700. So he said, can we talk about how I can create this new habits to where my credit card bill is always this small, right?
Sure.
What was I spending on before that I thought I needed or I wanted, and how we can get back into it. So now's the time to really create new habits that's going to carry you through and make you stronger. Most likely, most people are not going to have their banner year this year.
That
Could.
makes sense.
But if you work it right, if you set up the new habits, right, if we get really crystal clear on here's my vision, here's the habits you can set yourself up to next year, it can be. Because I guarantee you your competition, most of your competition is just at a wait and see mode. They're not in a proactive, let's cast this vision, let's get those new habits in, let's make that decision now. And then the people habit, I don't know if you guys have a lot of teams there or who your people is. So it's really getting back to career visioning with our people, right? Really looking at what motivates our people, right? And how we can work with them. Have you taken quantum leap?
It's probably been 10 years since I took it 3 or 4 times, but
so that was another reference, was really getting back into those habits. What's the self habit, right? You know, what's our relationship habit, right? You know, our spirituality, our money habit, our time habit. And I see a lot of opportunity here now with people really getting great time habits and money habits to move forward, right? Really getting focused on our productivity. Because I've seen it go 2 ways right now. I've seen some agents being very distracted for their productivity. And then I've seen a lot of people laser focused because they have to for survival.
sure.
And that's our gift right now coming up next week. I don't know if you guys are all signed up for Bold Pivot. That's a really great opportunity to get laser focused and really get on those habits. And I love the fact that they're doing it 2 days a week, their expectations for the Legion beforehand, because then we can really create those habits as we move forward. And that's a great use of our time.
Yeah, I think both Carrie and Lynn are signed up for Bold.
Oh, great. I mean, I have my whole teams are signed up for it. I think if nothing else, there's so much out there right now. I mean, it's very confusing. KWRI has a list of things for training for us. Your region probably does, your office probably does. And I don't want anyone to feel like they have to do everything. We have to have a filter on what's the right training for us to get that production. And your filter typically is what your vision is, what you want out of it. One thing that really struck me, you know, with Gary, I mean, he talked about how tired he was. He's sleeping more. And he went through his morning routine, but he is working like, he's on the phone about 8 to 10 hours a day, he says right now.
Wow.
On the phone.
Just talking to other top 100 agents, or
He does a lot of calls with people who are 100 million producers on up, right? He's doing a lot of, he has his top people he's coaching. He's got the regional directors. I know, I know he meets with my regional director. He's just constantly on there pumping that energy and casting that vision, because that's what he's good at. And he talked a lot about getting financially set. He actually showed us his financial portfolio. It's like this huge book, like everything was all prepared, ready to go. And he spends time, you know, each week making sure those are up to date. He has a lot of businesses to juggle. So I figured if he could do it, I could juggle it, you know, with my 3 businesses, right?
right? Yeah.
But it
Well,
does.
I don't know if I got the time.
Right, you know, so that's an excuse, right? It's a very good reason. I hear people give me really good reasons why they're not hitting their lead gen time, right? Why they're not, you know, really focused on their finances. And I think they're very good reasons, only they're not good reasons for my people. I want us to be unreasonable. I want us to be so good. Like if we're on stage at Mega Camp, I want someone to be up there and you know, make Gary speechless that we did so well, right? I want to be that unreasonable. And so what can we do to set our day up to be that unreasonable? And for me, I don't know about you guys, but I've been pulled in a lot of different directions. It's setting aside some quiet planning time, at least 3 times a week. And I got that, there was a book I read. I'll have to think of the book that really talked about that doubled down on that. But I would focus in on that first. The other thing he really talked about was right now we have to be service first and sales second. He says the community needs great role models right now, and agents we should be the role models. And you think about that with Red Day coming up. What can we do to service our community? How can we help? As agents, making a lot of care calls to our people, like, how are you? Like, really, how are you? How can I help? He says that's what the community needs right now, and that's going to give you the longevity. Because if you can't, you guys right now are buying and selling, right? I'm in Colorado, and literally this week we could just start showing houses again on a limited basis. We weren't allowed to before. And so when we don't have that in-person contact, then we have to work on mind share, right? And how do we become the realtor of choice? How can we stand out to where when people are ready to buy again and really free up, what's our possibility then? And there was a lot of great discussion on that. One good quote I got from it was, you know, because he says, right now we need to get up and do something. A lot of people are hesitating too much. He said, it's really hard to feel your way into action. It's much easier to act your way into feelings. I thought that was a great quote.
Yeah.
And then I asked him the question, so how would you coach Gary Keller? Like, what would be the difference? And he said it would be an absolute mistake to treat him any different. It's like right now he wants someone to push him hard on, let's get the survival going, and then here's how you thrive, right? Is my health, is my family's health taken care of? Fine. How are my finances? Am I in check? Fine, right? How are my people, right? You really push that as role models. We should have 5 to 10 people we're taking care of, right? And then how do you thrive? And that's where you have your vision and then your course of action. Having a big vision really dictates the actions you're going to do to get there. But then he talked a lot about, he said there's a myth that goes around that's saying that you have to have a lot of time and sacrifice is required to have a big life. And he says that's not true. There is not a lot of sacrifice. It does not necessarily take a lot of time. He says what you need is a plan. He also said cash is king right now. So the more cash we can put away. He's a big investor for sure, right? He's doing a lot of hard money loans. So he figures $1 saved now is going to be, you know, $1 now in 6 months, it's going to be worth $2 to $5, right? So hanging onto our cash, making sure, but that's for investment. And I'm not sure everyone's there. I'm teaching a Dave Ramsey course right now. Are you guys familiar with Dave Ramsey?
Yeah, we're actually we're doing this financial piece at the Market Center. I think starting mid-May.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of doing one right now, and it really makes me think back about systematically how do we, you know, have a plan to get to true wealth. Right? We can't do it. We're not going to accidentally find our way to wealthy.
Right.
And so we just need a plan. Is this helpful? What questions do you have?
It is helpful. It's always great to hear Gary's wisdom.
He's
He said Gary.
yeah, I mean he always emphasized never give up. He's really passionate, is never give up. He says there's a lot of people right now who are going to sit down and wait their way out of a job, and there's no fallback right now. Like, you know, all in. If you knew you weren't going to fail, if you knew you're going to have the best year possible in a year from now, what would you be willing to do to prepare yourself?
Great question. Great question.
Take bold pivot.
Huh?
Absolutely, bold pivot and then
Yeah.
go all in, right? I mean, that's what I told my market centers, right? I have every staff signed up for bold pivot, and I said, we are all in. We're going to support each other like family, and I'm on it, right? My front desk is on. I mean, everyone's on it because I want to support them at the highest level. So I'm going to definitely push them, and on our team meetings, I'm gonna pop on. I know my team leader normally runs it, but I will push them and I will challenge them to be better. I don't, I think that's the goal for people. I want to push them enough so they know that I care about them and their families and business. And I want them all to thrive during this. My goal is I want everyone wealthy, right? And just so set up a plan for that. So for sure on survival, we need to get our money right. And I know Taylor can really help you guys with that if you need any help with that. I would certainly get a plan. I like the Dave Ramsey plan personally to go through. It's very systematic, very easy to do, to push, get that money right so you can create wealth. And I think, look at my notes. I was preparing for my next Dave Ramsey. It says the average millionaire pays off their house in like 10.2 years. But the only way they do that is with a plan. So whatever whatever plan we want, however much money we want, however we want to set up, we just need a plan to get there. And real estate, oh my gosh, is the greatest investment. That was another question I asked Gary. He's not in stocks. He didn't have any money in stocks. Guess where his money is?
Oh, maybe a little real estate.
Maybe a little real estate, yeah. Yeah. So he's all in there. What questions do you guys have? Have you thought about a vision for what you want your business to look like after all of this is over? And that could be a year, right?
Thought about it, haven't put it down in writing.
See, I think there's power putting things in writing. Like I would never accept a real estate offer that wasn't in writing, right? There's certain power in it. And I think when you have a vision, if you don't have a very purposeful vision up there, you can just throw a dart anywhere on the wall and draw a circle around it and say, look, I made a bullseye, right? But that's not really purposeful if you know what you want, right? If you know you want your business to be a certain size, if you know the purpose of business is to support your personal life, right? So I actually have two bullseyes, right? I set up what I want personally, and then I know what my business needs to support.
Carrie, do you have any questions?
I don't really. I mean, I've been jotting down notes and stuff, like everything that you've shared, Karen. Thank you.
My pleasure. As I said, the main thing I got out of it is recast our life vision right now. Our world has definitely changed, and it's not going to go back the way it was. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? There's certain things that we're doing now we're going to carry forward and new habits. And so if you could pick and choose what would be the habits you would want to carry forward, let's solidify those now. My guess is we're going to still be doing Zooms, right? I don't think that's going away. Life has definitely changed.
Yep.
And some of it might be efficiencies too. It's not necessarily a bad thing, like you said, but just thinking of other ways to get things done that might be more efficient, and not doing it just because we did it before that way.
Yep. I've heard agents saying how they've found great time savers and how they're showing, how they're narrowing down the properties to show, or going to the closing table, or whatever it is, things that they're saying, you know what, I just saved a lot of time by not doing all this driving around, right? And I'm never going to go back to doing that. Now, I did ask Gary about that too, and he thinks the power is going to be the blend, right? That personal service, nothing's going to replace that personal service. And so some agents will rely too much on the digital media, and he thinks that's a mistake too. So I would keep that in mind.
Yeah, it goes back to, what they keep saying on the leadership side is high tech and high touch. Right. So.
And that reminds me of John Maxwell, right? So he always says, first people see how much you care about them. Then they see if they can trust you. Then they see what they can learn from you. Right? And so right now is the time to care about our people. What are you guys doing for Red Day?
I should know this. I've got it here. Our culture ambassador is planning it. A lot of it's going to be what they call darts. It's like a program here, and it's doing yard cleanup for elderly people that can't get outside and do it. So that's where a bulk of it's going to come from.
And then 360 Communities, which is like a sheltering program. And so just bringing individual boxes in with items to
Nice.
share. Somebody else was doing, we have some creative options too. Somebody else was doing military packs to donate.
For veterans?
Hmm.
Okay.
Sammy and her husband were doing that.
I should have organized it sooner, but I'm gonna donate platelets on Red Day. Years ago, we got about 10 people to all go donate platelets at the Red Cross.
Yep, I've heard some market centers doing that, doing blood drives. We're filling up the food banks, right? We have a shortage in our community, so we're just reaching out to whoever they can leave the bags out. We can grab them, we can deliver them, right? I've heard of some places getting together gift cards to give to the people on the front lines, meaning people at the grocery stores and things, but lots we can do right now.
Yeah, exactly. There's no shortage of things.
Yeah. So what did you guys take away that you could use today?
Routine is very important. And that's something that I've been adding into my day, being very more aware and more detailed in, writing down my routine in the morning. That's really helped me kind of get going, because I was starting to feel like I was floundering, So to me, that's been super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two things a routine can do for you. One, it's a great trigger, right? Like I work from home, so I have a trigger on to start my day and to end my day, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I can work all evening. I can answer emails forever. And that's not really the life my husband wants.
Or you, I'm sure.
He actually wants to spend time with me. And it's also helpful because as you look at it, you can say, well, if I could create a new habit that's going to help my health or wealth, right? Or make me more productive, what would that one new habit be? And it makes me more aware of that. Mm-hmm. So I love that.
I've gotten away from it the last few days, but I used to get up and I kind of walk laps in my house. I've got like a one-level home that's fairly long, so I can walk laps from my closet to the door of my dryer in the laundry room is 100 back there and back is 100 steps. So, and I've got a Fitbit, so you keep track of your steps.
I got mine. Yep, I walk my dogs every day. They love it.
Yeah.
I also like the advice about cash is king. And obviously we all know in times like this to cut expenses, etc. But that's just, a good thing to think about as well.
Well, I'm a big component on investing and being debt free. That's kind of my passion, right? Mm-hmm. So I think and it creeps up on everyone. It creeps up on me. I call it ghost money, right? So that's where we look at our credit cards and what we can cut out, and all of typically for agents, it's alcohol or eating out or Amazon, right? All of those things, and really looking at it and deciding what do we want and what do we need, and really cutting back, and how do we budget ourselves. And I'm a big proponent of having a budget. Mm-hmm. We would not run our market center without a budget.
Right.
Why would you run your business without one?
Sure.
Average millionaire pays his house in 10 years.
Yeah. And I know, when you think about it, it says, well, yeah, they're millionaires. I'm like, no, you don't get it. They're right. Millionaires because they have this habit, right? Yeah. And they have systematically saved away. And if like I have a goal on when I want to retire and how much money I need and systematically get there. And there is like if you've never taken the Dave Ramsey course and if you guys are doing it, I highly suggest it because he really talks step by step on what you can do. And it's something I really want my grown kids to do.
Well, I really appreciate your time and wisdom and sharing, some of the stuff that Gary opened up about and shared with you guys. And it just amazes me that a man in his position cares enough to continually work hard and direct this great company and all the leadership that he's put together.
He has a passion for it. I mean, y'all know he doesn't have to work, right? He's set, right? And he's so passionate about real estate and about helping the agents. He does more than any other CEO I've ever seen, quite honestly.
I believe it.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you go because I know you probably have another thing right after this. You're always very close, so.
Always. It's my pleasure. Yeah. Anytime you want me back, let me know. I'm happy to do so.
Thanks.
Appreciate you, Karen.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.